Yeah. Milk, coffee.
Dr. Farr, can you hear me?
Yeah.
That wobble bubble. Mom.
Oh, wait, wobble bobble.
Wobble bubble.
Wobble.
There's that wobble bubble.
Wobbly wobbly. Hold on. I need to do something for 5 minutes.
Now.
Hear us?
Can you hear me? Can you?
Everybody can hear. Wait, no. Wait. The microphone. Made you the presenter, and I can make you the host. Let me know if that's okay.
That's okay.
I can't hear you. Hold on. Let me see. No, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear you now. So if you be silly. All right, I'm going to turn off my video. Sophia just wanted to say hi.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Okay, Sophia. Okay, I'm turning it off. Bye. I'm turning off the video. I'm going to go mute. Okay.
Okay. Elizabeth is here. No. It's showing up. Hmm?
Actually, we're going to wait another few minutes just in case people are having a hard time connecting, and from there we'll start it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fine.
Hello, can you see, can you hear me? I don't have my camera on. Hear me? Okay, how about I assume that's you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you. I'm going to wait a few more minutes and then we're going to start.
Sounds good.
Confirm that you're the host.
I am now the host.
Okay. Okay, should we start?
Yeah, I can go ahead and start.
Okay, let me just take a moment and welcome everybody to our first workshop in using R. I'm just going to be brief in just saying some of the stuff, and then Casey can take over. Just a couple of items. We're going to R. R is a software package that's available on any platform, Windows, Mac, and Unix, Linux. So if you have not downloaded it, you might find it should be relatively easy to download it for every platform and install it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you use RStudio as the integrated development environment, the visual environment. And is that what you're using?
I will be in RStudio, but I will show the other option as well.
Okay. So items that you might need to know is that this session is being recorded. And what we intend to do is basically if you can convert this to one of the formats that are typically available on any of the other platforms, it's converted, we're going to have it available on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to interact, ask questions. Chances of questions you have are the questions that people who are going to watch this in the future are going to have as well. So, and Casey, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Me? Able to either, you can say by turning your microphone on, or I can see your chats, if not.
You're fine.
Okay.
Can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to continue. If you can't hear me, just, okay. I got a confirmation from everyone. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to share my screen. Let me bring up. So, if you have any questions, I'll be monitoring the chat. Bring your mic on. I have my my speaker. I should be able to hear your questions as well. Like Dr. said, welcome. We're going to go over kind of introductory R, data analysis techniques. So we're going to talk about R, how to write scripts and that kind of stuff, and also some data structures to get you kind of started in R and to play around with it. So there are options for developing R. There's probably more, but there's two well-used ones. The first one, when you downloaded R, it comes with R console, which is let me see if I can. So it's like the icon. When you click on it, it's going to come up with this kind of GUI, and I apologize for all the text in it right now and how small the text is. But this will let you do a lot of the exact same things that I'm going to show you in R Studio a little bit better because you can kind of visualize things better. So R Studio, and this is a mode. If you downloaded R, it doesn't usually come with R Studio, although I'm not sure. I've had this for a while, so I'm not sure if now it does actually come with it. It's a very popular GUI to use. So 1 second to see if I can make the text a little bit bigger. Okay. So when you do, you're going to get something that looks like this. And over here is the console, which is going to be the same thing as when you pull R either in the terminal or in this GUI. Just type in commands. So I can do some math, and it will give me the answer. Also, create variables here, so I can say sum and set that equal to my 4, 5. You see that I have a sum variable. The reason that I like RStudio is that you can start to see all your variables collected here along the right side. In our console, okay. Do the same thing. I can set sum equals to 5, and it's just the only way that you would know it's there is do an S and you find out all the commands. So briefly, I know that's small, but focusing on RStudio. So one thing to know, you're used to other programming languages, may flip back between it here and there. So if you notice, when I set the sum equal to 4 plus 5, I use the 0 and of less than and then a dash. And you also say equals. This is fine. In general, most of the other programming languages are like that, and so sometimes I will flip from doing either one. This, I've been told, is technically the more correct of doing R. So if you prefer, that's what you're used to, go ahead and stay with that. So both of these are going to perform an assignment. So whatever you put on the right side of either one of these is going to be put inside of the variable on the left-hand side. Same thing. So far? I'll try to quickly stop it after you guys have questions. To mention with variables, just these. So when I say variable, I mean the sum. Variable name, you can string. They can't have spaces, so you can't say sum bar, something like that. So they can't have a space, but they can't have in them. That's a little bit from other programming languages. A lot of programming languages disallow that, but this in this one you can. The reason is that, so it kind of makes it look like you're, well, so just know that you can name it any which way that you want, including with periods. You use into it, whatever name, and it is just a name. And when you have created a variable, you can access it by just typing the name of it, hit enter, and then it will give me the value associated with it. So sum is a number or integer. You can also create what are called strings in double quotes. So this is just text. So now, a string, a variable named str, and a text. And actually, that's the variables. We'll get at the other types. You can also have booleans, which is going to be true or false, and you can have no characters. But we'll get into that later when we need to. So instead of being the console the whole time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a script, and this is allowing me to kind of save the command that I write. So in RStudio, you say new file, say RScript, and it's going to bring up kind of a blank text document here. So if I give it, I say sum, and I said the same thing. Well, let's set it equals something different. 1 plus 4. When I hit, you'll notice sum doesn't change. So now if I'm entering these into a document and I haven't executed any of them yet. If I execute them, one of these buttons will do it. Will do it. But press buttons, which many of us don't. You can also, I'm on a Mac, so it may be a different combination for others, but mine is Command Enter, and it will execute it. It may be Control Enter or something like that on. Well, so Control Enter will also do it for you. In RStudio that I really like is a notebook. So if you choose it, what I really like about this is that it lets you document your code really easily as you go. So all white is just text. It will be its comments. In the gray boxes, that's where your R code is. Now you can put all your code chunks into one of the, oh, I'm going to do that so many times. My fingers don't type that very well. So put a ton of stuff in each of these chunks, and then each one you can just press, and it will execute them for you. So all of this other stuff is just extra text that it comes up with. After you're done, you generate reports, and they're very easy. You can generate HTML or PDF, and it makes it very useful. Every time you generate a plot, instead of plots showing up in another box like down here, it'll show up in line. So it's really nice. And I'm going to switch back to just doing a script because that's what. So different options. Feel free to play around with each one. At this point. Okay, good point. So the scripts are going to be a .r extension. The notebooks are going to be RMD. The capital R. So, but the scripts will And you are opposed to GUIs, you can do all this with just a text editor as long as you name it. You need to name it .r to get R to run it. You just have R script, R command, and R should probably be able to run it. Okay. So moving on. Some really important data structures that we're going to be using throughout the entire course. And R is what are the crazy thing, or the thing I thought was crazy is how many data structures it has. It has tons, and one of them acts a little bit differently. And this is actually true when you get into working with genetic data, other kind of biological data. It seems like every different biological problem that they have R scripts to do has a different type of data. But I'm going to go over some of the basic ones. The first about is a vector. So vector created in several different ways. The first way is shown here. Something it also shows up down on the console, but here I created a vector, and the C command is going to combine these whatever numbers I want to give it. I could also give it a text, but that can only know one type of data, so you can't mix the two. So it either has to be numbers or text, mixture of the two. Put however many that I wanted in here. If you want to remove your you can just say RM and then send in the vector that is removed. Another way to vector is to use the C, but this time to say, if you say 1:5, for instance, give you, it's kind of exactly what you would expect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So use the colon between there. It'll give you this in increments of 1. If you want kind of then you can use this command. So I'm going to create another vector, my vec2. So the sequence is special. I did what I did here because it created basically a vector that goes from 1 to 10 in increments of 1. So I have a start point, an end point, and then increment by. So this part here is what makes it customizable. I can say maybe I want to just increment it by half each time. And so now 1.5 to 2.5, and so on. Does anyone have
A question about RStudio, if you would.
Sure.
So when you're in the normal document and you're typing out different variables and then you want to run things, do you hit Command Enter on each line? Because I'm noticing if you go to a blank line and hit execute, it basically just adds blank space to the console. Is that something I'm doing incorrectly?
So you're saying if I go to a blank line like here and I Command Enter. Oh,
yeah. So
it would go down.
Right.
It should be, as long as your cursor is in the right line that you want to execute, Command Enter should work.
Right. So okay. So sorry. So your cursor just needs to be on the line that you want to execute.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So look, and you can find, for instance, length with your vector. and just with the length command, I can, my first vector is of length 5 and the second is of length 2. This is going to be when we learn iterators, where we can iterate through things like for loops. Also, just a useful thing to know when you're calculating different kinds of statistics. So, where, in my opinion, this is where R is it's actually indexing into these data structures. And so I'm going to show you a few ways that you can index in different elements out of your vectors. First ones would be kind of straightforward, and then I'm going to get into a little bit more complicated stuff. So here, this is my vector, if you recall. So I'm going to just print. It's 1, 5. The vectors in R are going to be indexed by 1. So the first element is going to be element 1, element 3, element 4, so on and so forth. This is different from, say, Python or Perl that's indexed by 0. This is what it is. So here I say vect, and then I give it brackets. This means I want to access a certain element. And so I have an entity, and I say 1. So this will print as that index 1, there's the 1. So that's pretty straightforward. You can also multiple contiguous elements in a row. So I can say I want element 1 and 2, and of course 1 and 2. Instead, I want to omit 2, and I run in 3. Then I omit 4 and 5. Then I something like this. Where inside here, this is another there. Inside of indices, basically. So I can get a collection of indices and say that these are the elements that I want. I can in here as I want. So maybe I want 5, 2, and then 3, 5. So those are kind of the ways of indexing into vectors. It's kind of cool way that what it does is that you can do negative indexing. In some languages, negative indexing means that you come from the array. So -1 would mean that you want to grab the element, which in this case would be 5, but not in R. So this will basically, it will negate an index. So the same thing as saying, I want everything in my vector except what's at element 1. When I run this, you see I have 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's kind of combine this with what above. I'm just going to do my first vector. And I don't know, 1, and I don't want 4, let's say. I'm going to get 2, 3, 5. Concept of negative indexing. Are there any questions there? This morning, which I haven't answered you, is that can you combine the two? So we'll defer to say I want elements 1 through 2, and then 4. You can't. So, which that is kind of unhelpful here. Only zeros may be mixed with negative subscript. Basically, it kind of makes sense. So if you want to do this logic, you can also do it with just 1 through 3 and 5. So nothing. So same thing as stepping out of bounds. So it's not technically a bound. So I'm not sure what that error exactly means. It's kind of a weird error. Okay, I'll try to distribute my script. too. Okay, favorite way or favorite thing that R does is this indexing here. So if my next 2, that was the one that I created using sequence, and it has 1 through 10 in increments of 0.5. In these square brackets where I'm doing the selection, I can get a statement like my 2 grade. And what you would think it should do is it gives me all the elements in there that are greater than 5. And this is really cool because it saves you a lot of iterating through things. And the reason this works is so if I put 2 and this actual statement that's inside it, you'll see of impulses. So what for you is that it's going through each element of your filter, and it's deciding if this statement is true or not. And it's so obviously for the first one, it is not greater than 1 is not greater than 5, so it's false. And so inside is others, and it's to pull out all the ones that gave it a true value. Really cool. It's really cool because you can think of these vectors could be in large and going to be in order, you know. So it'll save you a lot of time if you want to just extract any kind of value that's above a certain threshold. Okay. Any questions? With equals? So the question here was, I'm going to copy. So the equal. And so it will work equals, which I assume is what you were meaning. So equals is going to be the one that is going to for equality. Equal is just an assignment. So if I do this, I'm going to be really funny. And why would I get 3? Actually, got 3. I don't know what that exactly is doing, but it's not doing what I want it to do. So I'll pull any element that equals 5. And this works without it being long. So you can less than or equal to. And I'm going to try, but I didn't try it before, so it could fail. I say less than or equal to 5, but 2. So you can all things along with ands and ors if you're familiar with that. We're not going to do too much of that, but just know it's there. So here, this and statement, the look here is give me everything that is less than or equal to 5, and 2. So you get the subset that's greater than 2, but less than or. So this gives of grabbing things out of your data very quickly. Yes, it is. Okay, the question is it possible to get the index of an element rather than the values in a similar way? So, I was going to do this at the end if we had time, but I'll do it now since the question was asked. Another thing about R is this which statement. So I can switch my value, let's stick with greater than 5. And so the switch here me which elements in my vector are greater than it. So now we can get into in just the value, but also the indices. Complete in that way. Good question. Okay. Other data types, next one, but the other data types, there's matrices, there's arrays, and there's lists. Comment. So we have matrix, array, and list. Now, I'm not going to use one of these, although later on in the sessions we may need to use these, so I will demonstrate each one of them, but I wanted to run through a little bit about each one. So this is going to be just a two-dimensional array of a single type of item. So you can put numbers in it or all strings in it, and it's going to be two-dimensional. Array, but it becomes n-dimensional. How many dimensions that you want to. List takes it further. You can have list of lists to make it list of lists dimensional, but lists handle different data types. So it can have numbers and strings in it all at the same time. So I guess I'll do one list. Looks like useful too. So the command to create a list is list, and instead you can give it, you know, a 1, 3, B, and so now different subdivision here is called data because I made something a little bit more complicated than a vector. So if I press the little down arrow, it's going to kind of give me a little bit more information about what I have a list of. So I have a list of, you know, characters, number, character. So I may do this at some point, but. Okay, so character, there's numbers, there's I think, yeah, so there's numbers, integer, Boolean, which is those, I think they're either called Boolean or logical, and that's logical. I'm probably one, but no, I that for you. You can to be a certain type. You can enforce that they to be integers or they remain characters, things like that. But,
yeah, if you click on my list, it gives a better. No,
and I think it kind of is, and then there's also something that comes up with int, and that will be an integer now. Okay. And, we have matrices that are arrays, but we'll have use for them later. But almost everything is done with data frames. So I'm going to a little bit more about data frames. So here, created data frames. Data frames are fictional lists, but they have a little bit more functionality than lists, a little structure. So I'm going to these vectors. So notice I'm using. So vector 1 is going to be like an ID field. 2 has colors, and 3 is a true false, a logical vector. So also, if you want to execute one time, if you like whichever lines you want to execute, and then you press Command Enter, you execute all of them at once. I don't know if I mentioned that. I may have done it a few times, but I mentioned it. So I have my three my vectors. I'm going to create a data frame. Actually, so I'll need more time to type. And you can mirror whatever you want. You don't have to do all three. You can do, or you can do more. You can do whatever you want. Sorry, I was like in my throat. So to create it, you use this data.frame function, and here you can pass in you'll see my data, and I have three. Well, let me print it out. I'm going to print my data. So I have column 2 and 3, so, concatenated together as columns, not rows. It's taken from the variable, so you may want to actually name your columns because 1, 2, and 3 is not really descriptive. So what you can do, a little bit funny. So on the side here, you're using a function called names, and you're sending in your data, and then you're able to set each. And I'm creating them all into a vector to set them. So let's say the first one is ID, second one is code, and let's say red means they failed, and green, I don't know. I think I don't know exactly what it was, but so now if we show them again, you'll see that the column headers have changed. It's kind of funny syntax. If you were to run just names and you would get a return a vector to you of what names work. So this we've already changed them, so ID, code, and pass fail. And so you're basically setting all three of them at the same time. So in 1-for-1, meaning that whatever's in the first column, you give it's in the first one. So it's intuitive, makes a lot of sense. Any questions?
You have to get like the right number. 2 and 3 have to be the same number.
I remember R being deceptively, so let me just give it like an extra row. Yeah, okay, so it will catch it. So you do the same length. But you could probably omit one of them. So for those of you who are on, the question was, do you have to give here, or can you just give, 1 too few or 1 too many? Back to our original data set where we didn't have headers yet. So 1, 2, and 3. So I give the first 2. So I give ID and code to this. Then, and I get my data again. I change the first 2. So it will do 2. And notice it changed the last one to NA. So I think maybe keep it as 3, but no, it just changed. Since it didn't technically give it anything here, it gave it an NA. We'll do as much as it can for you. So but give it more than what gave you there, which was a descriptive error. We scroll back up. Name's attribute must be the same length as the vector 3, so it can't be 4, it needs to be 3. Okay. So if you're working in video, what you can do is you can click on the, and it will kind of pull up, it'll pull up a spreadsheet basically. And in here, modify the values, but you can scroll through just like you would a spreadsheet. And you can within it and that kind of thing. If you find out more information about your data, you can use PR command. So here, useful for when you're working with somebody's packet and you download their data or you download a test set, but you have no idea what the format is. Especially if you're using RStudio and you're using the other GUI where you can't, look on the side here and figure out what it is. So SR will, the type here, we find that it's a data frame. And the derivations of 3 variables, and it goes on to tell you what the 3 variables are, and then what they contain. So we have ID that contains numbers. We have a code that contains a factor, and we'll go over factors a little bit more. That's another structure, right? Or, I'm not sure variable or as a structure, but we'll go over it more detail. Logical, the true false. So the last one is a logical. So what kind of data that you have. Be able to be used a certain type of data, and others will be used as another. R has a bunch of conversion scripts or conversion functions where you can convert between these data types. So you can convert vector pretty nicely into a data frame, and a matrix into a data frame, or a data frame into a matrix, so on and so forth. So you do all those conversions. You just need to know. Or you get errors that frustrate you. Okay. So a data. It went away. So asking have now multiple dimensions. Well, we have 2 dimensions, more than one, with those 2 dimensions. So the first here, if you notice a comma here, so vector is going to on the left side of the. Yeah, I'll show you that one first. I had the first 2, so we're going to talk this one first. Whatever is on the left side of the comma is going to be the rows that you want, and whatever is on the right side of the comma is going to be the columns that you want. So here, you see I get elements 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, and 2, 2, 2. So it's kind of, upper left quadrant of the data. So for instance, want to pick out, that fine of things, you wanted to just pick out maybe the first 2 columns. You can actually hit the row. You can just say comma and then 2, and this will give you the first 2 columns. You can do something similar to get the first 2 rows. So instead of omitting the first one, you omit the second half, and here you'll get the first 2 rows. way. Another way you can do it that is common with data frames. So data frames, if you are familiar with objects, you can think of it as an object. For those who are not, okay. If you type in data, which is your data frame, and you type $, it's going to give you the option, any options of the columns that it has. So you have I choose pass fail. So ID, and if I do this, then I get the data out of ID. Certainly looks like a vector. I think it's a vector. It's either a list. I'm not sure what it was. Yeah, it's a. So I str in front of it to find out for those of you. The data from ID. So I can also get my pass fail. Then so R is going to do this for you automatically, but the other R may not. Since I have this slash in my column header, it's going to put in these little ticks, and not they're actually ticks up by the and then that's how you get the. If you had a space in your column heading, it would also need to be encapsulated with these ticks to get the data out. So that's action frames. Now you also do the same kind of things we were doing with vectors. You can, all right, let's try. Which have an ID. Try something. I'm going to say and want, let's see, anywhere my data equals red. So I've done the same thing that we looked at with vectors, and a certain variable within, or a certain column within, it gives me what I want. So, sounds exactly right. It doesn't do what you want to do, and it kind of makes it difficult for you. It's going to be what happens when you don't try it before you come. Code row has an additional of level for the command. Oh. Maybe. So when you get caught, you get also this levels, and that's that factor that it so here over here that it's a factor with 2 levels. And basically, when you have text, it kind of tries to do unique text elements. It kind of almost internally makes a frequency kind of it does it. So if you notice when we did this R, it codes it as either 1 or 2 for each. I don't know, the one that we tried before didn't work, but I think it has something to do with with how we're carrying things. Equals may not be applicable to strings.
With how like built-in,
The vectors you list might.
you would access that with
Sometimes just for variables. So the question was, do lists or vectors have built-in functions and access them with the $sign? So the $sign is just going to give you the or the column names, the columns inside of the data. It's not necessarily a function that you call. And I think I've shied away from actually making data structures have functions. It's mostly our functions that you pass data into as an argument. I'll look at why that wasn't working, and we'll talk about it next time. But I just want to briefly say that you can do, you have these vectors and the data frames. You can do everything that you would want to, statistically. So basic statistics are all built in. You don't need an extra package. There's mean, median, all the things. So if you're looking to do, there's t-tests. There's a ton of different things that you can do with just, vectors and what we've looked at. So we already talked about which. There, I'm going to say really fast for those of you who want to kind of start on stuff now. Another thing that you can do is so T is transpose. So if I set my vector, even if it doesn't do it justice, in it's what is it, column? Even though it doesn't look like it, it's in a column vector. So you can transpose it into a row, and you can also bind two different vectors together if they're appropriate sizes. I have, say, C. Okay, so 1 and 2 and 3. Combine 1 and 2 were my and my codes. I can say wait, okay. I can say C bind 1 and 2. And now, so bind, as you may have guessed, is column bind, so I can combine columns. And also combine rows too, so I can say R bind. And now they're combined as rows. So just know, yes. It may be something funny. Oh, not sure. Well, so look at a matrix. And I'm going to say test. Okay, so I don't know me. Oh, it's the list. It was right there. I just went past. Okay, so and which makes sense because there are two different data types. So it couldn't be a matrix. It couldn't be an array. So it had to be list. Through that last stuff, and we're going to start with that stuff tomorrow, and we're going to go over file, so bringing in your own data, sure it's in the right format that you want, and then we're going to work on doing some beginning data analysis on that. All emails, if you have a specific topic that you want to go over, and I'm happy to chat offline if you have any questions about today. So I chat if you guys have any questions, please ask now, or send me an email. So it's question my data, and then give me a column. And I'm not sure that makes sense, but that's how it is.
Wait, I think road line, does it make it here? I don't know.
All of them? It does, yeah. It made all, it casted all of them in characters. Yeah. R doesn't make any sense. That'll be this whole workshop. R is funny. No. I guess it's dimensions, yeah. Okay, so tomorrow, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If you are still online, though, would it be more helpful if I sent you guys the script I was going to work through beforehand, or follow and type along? Type along. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.